Hey there, everyone. Dr. Tharp here. And as I say, my biggest role is I help women with diabetes naturally. And I know that there are many, many skeptical people out there. So I want to start a movement. I want people to understand they do not have to start medication if they don't want to. If you don't want to start medication, you have to take it. And it's possible to naturally. So of course, I want to spread the word and I want to help everyone. I want to help women just like me to achieve that goal. Of course, though, of issues, a lot of myths, a lot of false out there that get in the way of that. And many of the women out there who are struggling uh, so because you're going down paths that aren't going to solve your problem. And by now, many of you who have been on this journey trying desperately to stay off of medications, trying desperately to avoid the complications, many of you have lost a lot of time going down the wrong path because you're piecing together information from the internet that isn't necessarily true or isn't necessarily right for you. And because of that, it's delaying your ability to really make a comeback for diabetes. And always keep this as a reminder of what type 2 diabetes means. It means that we're on borrowed time. This is the hourglass, and you can see the time is going. And as you're watching the sand go through, it's a reminder of how precious time is. And so I always keep this as a reminder that time is of the essence when you're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes doesn't just sit there dormant in the body doing nothing. Type 2 diabetes slowly eats away at your nerves, at your eyes, at your brain, at your kidneys, and over time, even though you're not feeling it in the beginning, a year or two later, you start to have the side effects. Some of you know this very well already. You're already seeing significant side effects. Some of you have watched your go through side effects. Some of you have lost family to diabetes. Some of you are caretakers for people who are struggling with type 2 diabetes, and you know very well what it does. Unfortunate thing about type 2 diabetes is that people aren't given a fighting chance, right? Your doctor told you had type 2 diabetes. Your doctor gave you 3 months to get your numbers down, but you walked out of the doctor's office not really knowing what to do. You knew you wanted to be off of medications. You knew you never start the medications, but you walked out empty handed, right? No direction, no idea of what to do. You were told, move more, eat less, lose some weight. And you walked out of there thinking, okay, maybe I'll become a vegetarian. Maybe that will solve my problem. But it didn't. You said, okay, maybe I'll buy a book about type 2 diabetes, but that didn't help much. You said, maybe I'll try the supplements that they're selling out there, but that hasn't worked. So that is why I'm here tonight, is to help give you some direction, help you, empower you with the information that you need to really take the right steps toward naturally reversing type 2 diabetes, saving yourself on medication. We all know once you start on the medications, it's really a band-aid, right? If we're not getting to the root cause of type 2 diabetes, you will be on one medicine. Not getting to the root cause will lead to the second medication. Not getting to the root cause will lead to the third medication. And that is exactly why people with type 2 diabetes actually end up on insulin, right? Because we're not getting to the root cause. So that is why I, as a physician, and I'm an internal medicine doctor, I see people with diabetes every day in the hospital setting. I know what happens when you don't get to the root cause. And I decided I wanted to help people out there understand what they could do so they wouldn't become a statistic, right? So we in the hospital setting when there's a health crisis. So again, tonight is for all of those people really struggling. And I want to jump in with first debunking some myths. Myths loss of time, it leads to delays, it leads to worsening A1C because you're wasting time with things that just don't work. So let's jump in because I made a list here that I will go over the most common myths that I encounter among the women who I help. So the first myth is that type 2 diabetes is not reversible, right? Type 2 diabetes is runs in the family. You're helpless against it. There's nothing you can do. It runs in your genes. And so once you're told you have prediabetes or you have type 2 diabetes, you just have to go with the flow. There's not much you can do. You can start the metformin as your doctor suggested, right? And the reality is that is not true. And I will say a lot of you have probably been through this, right? Your doctor told you you have type 2 diabetes and number is very, very boring. You bargain with your doctor, you say, look, I don't want to some time. And the reason your doctor gives you that time to get your A1C because it is absolutely wonderful, period. But the problem there is that you don't get the right guidance, right? You don't get the formula, and we're going to talk about what that formula is. So if you stick around, we're going to talk about the formula because there is a that absolutely works 100% evidence-based, science-based, does work. The problem again, the biggest problem is when you get that diagnosis, you do not get the natural prescription, right? That natural prescription that's going to turn things around. It is there, and that is why your doctor necessarily rush right away to medications when you let them know you're not comfortable with starting medications. Okay, so so number one, I'm giving you hope. So if you've lost hope, you feel like you tried everything, and I'm here to tell you there's something to let you otherwise. It is from the like I'm having a little connection. I hope not too much, but we're going to keep going here. Now, reversal is you do not have the right nutrition. Nutrition is 90% diabetes. You probably know this by now. You definitely know this by now. Again, the problem is you've never been told how. And there is a formula. The formula is definitely something everyone can do, but you have to understand how to do it, right? The problem of developing prediabetes and type 2 diabetes is years and years of nutrition and to understand how to reverse that. So, but no one has ever. And a bit later about what that nutrition formula is once we get to the other myths down the line. Many people think is fact and leads them, and you lose a lot of time, is supplements, right? There's so much data out there the supplements. Now, do supplements have a place? Do supplements have a benefit? they do. So the supplements that I'm talking about that may have some benefit comes to type 2 diabetes is berberine. It is apple cider vinegar and cinnamon. So those may have some benefit, right? And have benefit. Our process of diabetes start with back to the doctor. If victorious that your A1 and the rest, berberine alone, cinnamon alone, apple cider vinegar alone will not. So even though those may have some benefit, it is absolutely not A1C down by itself. So again, I am telling you tonight, if that was your plan, if that was your game plan, then I will tell you it's not the right game plan. Okay. So supplements, I'm not saying supplements don't have a place, but they're definitely not going to solve your problem by themselves. Okay. So supplements alone will not solve the problem. However, we're right back to nutrition. Nutrition is exactly where most of it is. Is nutrition the only component that will solve the problem of type 2 diabetes? It is not. But again, we'll talk about the formula very shortly as I go through debunking some of these myths. Now, as I go through, if you questions, I'm open to that you'll have. I'll try to keep up with some of the questions as I go through. Please share, like, comment, because again, so many people out there deserve to know that they can reverse type 2 diabetes naturally. They just need to know the formula. I am a physician. I'm an internal medicine physician. I treat type 2 diabetes every day. I also round in the hospital setting. So I am a hospitalist. So I see the worst case scenarios of type 2 diabetes. And that is why I'm here tonight, because I want to spare you that fate, right? I want to keep you out of the hospital. I want you to have a long, prosperous life where you have quality of life. So like, share, comment. Let's get the word out there to diabetes naturally, right? All right. So now let's get to that third myth. The third myth is that if you become, then you definitely able to reverse diabetes naturally. And the answer is trouble. You become a vegan or a vegetarian for the purpose, you may actually get yourself into more problems. You may actually increase your frustration as you do this. Being a vegetarian or a vegan is okay, right? But again, you understand the reasoning behind it. And so if I were to ask anyone here, what is your reasoning for becoming a vegetarian, reverse type 2 diabetes? I am very sure in it. Becoming a vegan or vegetarian, cutting out meat for the most part. And now here is where the fertile comes in. Type 2 diabetes, okay? Reversing type 2 diabetes. Very process is protein. And protein is meat. So again, nothing is wrong with being a vegetarian or becoming a vegetarian for other reasons. But if you are doing this, cutting out meat for the sole purpose of reversing insulin resistance, then think about that again. You know, don't rush into that, because there you might be getting yourself into more trouble. Okay. So we do need protein to reverse type 2 diabetes naturally. It's an important tool. The problem with becoming a vegetarian is that we have to eat more and more of what we say carbohydrate to meet the protein goals. So it's very, very difficult to do that. So again, don't rush to becoming a vegan or vegetarian. if you, for the sole purpose of reversing type 2 diabetes, that's not going to solve your problem. That might get you in trouble. Now, or a vegetarian already, you're mystified. Why? I am a vegetarian, I eat health. Why do I still struggle with type 2 diabetes? Well, it boils down to the same issue that I just talked about, right? It boils down to the issue that you don't know how to balance the certain nutrients, right? And so I always say reversing type 2 diabetes comes down to nutrition. To understand how to use our food. As you take medicine without knowing the dose, without knowing how much you should take, would you take medicine with endless amounts without understanding what it's going to do to your body? Definitely would not, because we all by now understand if we take medicine without understanding how much to take, we overdose, right? We get into trouble. Well, the same thing happens with our nutrition. If we want to use our nutrition as a way to reverse type 2 diabetes, we have to understand how to dose it, how much our body needs. So if you're a vegetarian, that might be what you're struggling with, right? Now you have to eat more vegetables to get, or eat more beans and legumes to get more protein. But the problem there, um, so again, nutrition is key. Don't start cutting things out to reverse type 2 diabetes. The good news is you do not have to deprive yourself, right? Deprivation is not the way, and I know that is a lot of you struggle with that. You're skipping meals, eating breakfast, you're not eating dinner, you are intermittent fasting to get your numbers down, and it's not working. And so I will tell you, deprivation is not a strategy. It gets you into more trouble. Um, okay, so understanding your nutrition is key. Intermittent fasting. So I just mentioned fasting. And so another big myth out there is that intermittent fasting will solve your blood sugar problems. And again, that is a myth, partially a myth. So is intermittent fasting bad? No, it's not bad. But again, you have to understand the strategy. So there's a lot of falsehoods out there. There are people who will tell you don't eat till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Use that as a strategy. And the reality is you get yourself into a lot of when they start with me, they actually start out, skipping meals for the day and come in super, not understanding why they're barely eating and why their A1C is going up, why their weight is going up, even though they're not eating. And again, if you're not doing intermittent fasting the right way, then you are destroying your metabolism. So again, deprivation and fasting, excessive fasting or improper fasting can definitely interfere with your goal of reversing type 2 diabetes. Okay. And so I find that a lot of the women who I work with are actually relieved and feel so much better a week or two in, because they realize that it's not about deprivation, right? Their energy comes back because now you're nourishing. They have a true understanding of nutrition and how to energize their body and how to balance their blood sugars. So reversing type 2 diabetes, again, isn't about deprivation. It's about understanding how to nourish your body. So that's another big myth. I help women to fast safe and comfortably. What I do very likely be at night, right? Throughout the night. Don't fast in the day, because the days is where you're using most of your energy. It's when you need most of your energy. So you should focus on those daylight hours, nourishing your body in the right balance, and then spending the nighttime hours fasting. So that is usually what I advise. So intermittent fasting can be used as a strategy, but again, the right way. It has to be done the right way. All right. Again, guys, I'm Dr. Tharp. For those of you just joining in, I'm Dr. Tharp. I'm an internal medicine physician. I work as a hospitalist where I see the worst case scenarios of type 2 diabetes. And that is what inspired me to start my practice. The practice is focused on women reverse to diabetes naturally without medications. We save them from being on medication from the process, understanding how to balance nutrition bodies so they feel good, have the right energy. So again, I'm Dr. Tharp, internal medicine physician. Like and share for those of you who are joining. If you have or questions, please don't hesitate to put it in the comments. Like and share, because anyone out there who is struggling with type 2 diabetes deserves to know that they can reverse it naturally. I think the healthcare system definitely is not there to support us as we're trying to reverse insulin resistance. The current traditional healthcare system pushes medications, and it makes us feel as if there is no way out. So I'm here to offer hope, but I'm also here to inspire you to take action to reverse type 2 diabetes the right way. Nothing is not a strategy. Saying you don't want to take medications, but get to use, you have to take the right action, right? And you have to use the right strategies. And the biggest problem is that there's so many myths lead many people astray and frustrate them even more. So I'm here to break that frustration and put you back on the right path. For those of you who are really looking for that guidance, it's a new year. I know many of you out there, your New Year's resolution is that you wanted to turn your health around. So for those of you who are really serious about strategy, then that is where you can click the link in my bio to book your Discord call so that we can meet one-on-one and figure out if we're right for each other. Okay. All right. So we're talking about the myths. So the last myth that I wanted to talk about here, and the theme is deprivation is not strategy. So that brings me to the last myth. That last myth is carbs are the enemy. Carbohydrates are the enemy, and you have to cut out carbs to achieve blood sugar control or to get your A1C down. And the reality is, no, cutting out carbohydrates is not. Again, we get ourselves into a lot of trouble when we start to deprive our bodies of what we need. The strategy that is the right way when it carbohydrates is what are the right carbohydrates to put into our body, right? So when I say we need carbohydrates, I'm not saying that now it's okay to go crazy with rice, white rice, or with bread. There are bad carbohydrates and there are good carbohydrates. They're the carbohydrates that when you eat them, they go straight into your bloodstream. They spike your blood sugar up, and that high blood sugar starts to kill your organs, starts to kill your nerves, starts to kill your blood cells. So we don't want to be spiking our blood sugars fast. Is to lead kind of blunted rise in our blood sugars and to put the right carbohydrates in our body. So we have two carbohydrates that we have to think about. We have simple carbohydrates, which is something like bread or white rice. Those are simple. You eat them, they rush right into your bloodstream, cause havoc. They wreak havoc. Those are the carbohydrates that are tea. They have no vitamins in there. they have no minerals, they have real benefit. I know for a fact that many of you here are rolling your eyes because you're saying, you're telling me something I know already. I've already cut out the rice. I've already cut out the white bread. I'm already eating whole wheat bread. And so I know I'm telling many of you things that you've already done. Okay. But again, it's about understanding balance as well. So even though you have shifted to whole wheat bread and you've shifted to the brown rice, you can still get yourself into a lot of trouble there, because it brings us back to understanding how to dose your carbohydrates for your body, right? Lies is understanding how do you dose your carbohydrates, your protein, your fats, your fiber for your body, not just for blood sugar, but for your energy, for your hormones, for your gut health. Focusing your energy overall, you feel better. So going on to a keto diet is not going to solve your problem. It's going to make you feel miserable. It's not sustainable. So that's why many of you might have found limited success with cutting carbohydrates out, right? You cut out everything you were eating. You were on, let's say, this carnivore diet, right? You went on this extreme carnivore diet. You're just eating meat, meat, meat. You cut out carbohydrates, but the reality is you're miserable. You have low energy. You don't know, you can't keep it up. So many of you are doing these diets that are just not sustainable. They're only temporary. And the strategy that I implement and I encourage is a strategy that you will keep up for the rest of your life. Because if you want to truly conquer type 2 diabetes, you have to do something that you can do forever. So I all work with, and the people who want me, the number one condition is not come in thinking that this is just a diet thing and this is temporary. The strategies that I teach, that is also an important thing to remember, is that whatever strategy you implement, it has to be sustainable. So if you're doing something you feel miserable or already puts you in a mindset that you are, a month from now when I can have my bread or I can have my pasta, then you are already in the wrong mindset. You're already using the wrong strategy. Whatever strategy you're using should feel good. Your body should feel good. You should feel energized. You should feel your vitality coming back. You should feel like, oh, wow, I'm never turning back, right? You should feel like this is something you want to do for the rest of your life. So again, carbohydrates are not the enemy. You have to understand how to dose them. All right. So those are the myths in a nutshell. I help to deep you going down the wrong path that delays your chances of reversing type 2 diabetes. To sum things up, nutrition is a huge part of reversing type 2 diabetes. There, we have to just understand our food. Deprivation is not the way to, all carbohydrates is not the way to go. Understanding how to dose your food is the right way to go. Of course, whole nother series in itself, and very likely that's something I will be covering at some point this week. So if you want to know how to combat type 2 diabetes, you're looking for the right strategy, like, follow, comment, share this live so that we can spread the word that type 2 diabetes is reversible, and we can talk about what the real strategies are. If you are looking for real guidance, real coaching, real step-by-step guidance, then this is where you need to be. All you have to do is go to my bio, click the link there. There is a ton about who I am and what I do. What I recommend is that if you're really serious, and this is only for those people who tried everything and nothing's worked, looking for real tangible guidance, then go ahead, book that free discovery call. It's a 15-minute call where we get to know you, we get to know what your problem is, what your challenges are. We tell what we do, and we see if we're a good match. If we are a good match, then we move forward to a full consult. And if we are a good match, we definitely move forward to get sugars controlled. Again, guys, type 2 diabetes is completely reversible. I'm here to offer hope. If you think you've tried everything, your numbers aren't coming down, I am telling you with 1000% confidence that you have not tried it all. You're probably going down the wrong path. I mentioned a lot of the myths here. So please follow me, like me. If you want to really understand type 2 diabetes, actually check out my page. I have a ton of information already there, a ton of videos there that will also, give you some insight about the right strategies. Lots of information, lots of videos to go through there that will definitely even be able to piece together somewhat of a plan. Check out my page and go through all the videos. So tuned. I will be back to talk about your plate. I do have a nutrition guide. This nutrition guide is only really available to the women I work with, to the members of my Reverse Now Challenge. And so my nutrition guide lays out a lot of information from my guide to share with you. If you want a peek into what my nutrition guide offers, or you want a peek into, the strategy, then I do have access to a free jumpstart guide. Click the link in my bio, the Linktree link, and it will take you there. You can enroll in the jumpstart guide, and that will also give you lots of information and strategies that you can start to implement. So with that, I am going to sign off. But again, like, follow, share this live so that people know that I am here, and I am here to spread the word that you can reverse type 2 diabetes naturally. All right, guys, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to give opportunity for questions. If there's no questions, then at this point, I will. Okay, I have one last question. And this question is from Sha. And the question is fruit okay to eat with type 2 diabetes? So the answer to that question, actually, this is a question that I get very, 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 very frequently. So awesome question. Another big myth that I'm gonna debunk is that not all fruit is good for type 2 diabetes. So there's a myth that because fruit is natural, that you can eat all the fruit you want and it's not going to cause a problem. Some of you know already because you've been watching your blood sugars after you eat. You've been watching your blood sugars, how it spikes up. So the reality is, when you have type 2 diabetes, you have to understand that your body can't tolerate certain things. And before, I had mentioned that there's there's different types of carbohydrates: simple carbohydrates and carbohydrates. The simple carbohydrates, fruit falls under the simple. What that means, if you eat a fruit that is very, very, very sweet, that just rushes into your bloodstream, it causes a spike. So there are certain fruits that are safe if you have insulin resistance, if you have full-blown type 2 diabetes. There are fruits that are safer, and there are fruits that are off limits until you reverse your numbers. So one thing I always say is that it's type 2 diabetes, it's reversible. You have to reverse it before you can really indulge in all the fruits again, right? So you have to understand how your fruits and how to dose your fruits appropriately. So the fruit that I always say is for type 2 diabetes is actually your berries, right? Your blackberries, your blueberries, your strawberries, those have a low glycemic index, they're high in fiber, and they have lots of other benefits like high in antioxidants, high in vitamins. And so I encourage, if you approve of berries, other fruits like banana or grapes might not be the best option for you. Okay, so you want to start avoiding, because those tend into the bloodstream faster and they increase your blood sugars and wreak havoc. Do you have to stop those fruits forever and ever? Absolutely not. But in order to be able to eat those fruits more freely, reverse insulin resistance. And that is what I do. I help women A1C down fast. In fact, I just had someone graduate from my guidance with a normal A1C. She came in with an A1C of 6.7 after we worked together for 6 months, and her A1C after that was 5.6, a normal A1C. And by the end of it, she was able to eat her fruits, which she loved, freely, without guilt, without the anxiety of watching the blood sugar. So, excellent question, Khadijah. Yes, you have to be careful about fruit. Am I saying now eat a tub of berries too? No. And you have to understand how much of that to eat. And that is where it takes time to learn and understand that. I will never be able to teach that in just a live. So definitely my clients definitely have the benefit of that one-on-one guidance and that very in-depth guidance about how to dose their fruit. All right, guys. So I am going to close up, but just stay tuned. I will be here at least 3 times a week. So stay tuned. Follow, like, share, follow me so that you will know whenever I'm live. And over time, you will be able to put your strategy again, for those who are serious and understand the importance and the benefit of true guidance and mentorship. Go ahead and book that call in the in the Linktree link in my bio. All right, guys, have a good night, and I'll see you soon.